Hello and welcome to the video. I'm Jimmy the Mower and today we're going to be taking apart this Ransomes Parkway Magna 250 rear roller assembly. Okay then, so if you use these mowers with these rear roller assemblies, you'll know that throughout a season they take a real battering. We've got a bit of play in the bearings on this one. It's got to come apart. It's the end of season refurbishment. We take everything apart, grease it all up, clean it all up and put it back together. Now this scraper wire looks pretty good, but in fact it's very stretched. We've only got a little bit left either side. If you want to keep it for a spare, you can. Otherwise you just get rid of it and it goes in the scrap bin. A couple of things to note. Here on the end we've got 13mm bolts on there, 13mm nut on this one, same on the other side. These we can twist off and we grease before we put them back together. And really, that's about it. All you have to do before you start taking it apart, cover it all in your favourite release spray. We've sprayed this one up about 10 minutes ago. Let the oil penetrate and break down the rust, because these go through a lot of wet, damp grass and they really do sort of rust up over the season. They take a real battering. So we put the release spray in and hopefully things come apart quite easily, and it's half the time for the job really. So I'll just turn this round, I'll grab the 13mm spanner and the little 7mm spanner and we'll try and get this end off. Right then, there's a couple of ways to get these scraper wires off here at the back. If it's just scrap and you're not interested in keeping it, you can get an angle grinder in, just nip it off there, it'll break in two and you can pull it out. However, if you do want to keep it and might come in handy as a spare, you can always undo it. Use a 7mm spanner. It's a tiny little spanner and it just fits in at the back. So we wedge that in there and there's just enough on this end. Normally when you put them on, you tighten them up and you'll leave a little bit one end or a little bit the other. You try and get the same distance either end. I don't. I leave a little bit one end or a little bit the other. It doesn't matter where it sits on the roller. It's not important. You don't have to balance it up. So we try and leave ourselves a little bit of hex to grip onto so we can undo it if ever we need to. Now hopefully I've got this set to undo. No, I haven't. Always the way, isn't it? And then I should do, yeah, there you go, and that undoes. Now we've got on this one a nylock nut, so it threads all the way to the end. You can do it one or two ways. Put a nylock on so it holds the thread in place and it doesn't move, or you can use a spring washer or shake proof washer on there and a normal nut, or sometimes I've seen people put a locking nut on behind a normal nut, or sometimes I've seen people put on a locking nut, a normal nut, a nylock nut and whatever else they can get on there. I'll explain the reasoning behind that when we go to put these back onto the actual cutting units itself. If you haven't seen the video about how to take these off the cutting unit, then that'll be in the description below, or if you're looking for a playlist, that'll be in the Ransomes videos. So that's that one end done, and hopefully it should slide down and out the back. Well, there you go. How easy is that? Right, that's a piece of cake. So we can put that over there. In fact, I'll put this nut and washer back on the end. So if I put that back on, oh, it's easier to get it off than it was to put it back on. Right, that's on. We can put that out the way. We know if we need one in an emergency, we've got one. Now this is the trickier bit. This is the actual adjuster itself, and it sits in there on a little shoe and it's held in by a plate. Now these here are 13mm pins. In the older days and on the older units they used to be 10mm and they were atrocious for getting off. They were forever snapping. It didn't matter how gentle you were. These are a lot better now, and we have over the years taken out the thinner ones with the 10mm heads on, and we've actually drilled them out and put 13s in so they work a little bit better and they've got a little bit more resistance to them. Because these are sat on the ground all through the cutting season, the amount of water that gets in there is quite frightening really, and they rust all the way through. So when you put them back together, if you use a bit of copper slip on there, really coat it, push it through, or you can use some release spray as well. Whatever it is, as long as you've got a bit of oil in there, that helps to keep some of the moisture out. It doesn't always work. These are all copper slipped together when we put them back together, when we reassemble them, but it doesn't guarantee they'll come apart easily. But I'm going to have a go, so I'm going to try and take this one off on the top. He says. Right, that's not having it at all. So we'll try the one below. If not, we'll have to try the bigger ratchet and try and get something on it. Oh, that one's gone. So there we go. You can see just a couple of turns and then it's free. So I'll have another go at this one, try and give it a bit more pressure. Oh, that's it, that's gone. Now before, when we had the smaller 10mm ones in, very often you'd do that and crack and it'd break and it'd be stuck in there, so you'd have to drill it out anyway. So if you had to drill it out, you'd drill out to the bigger size and put the next ones in. So with a bit of luck, this should come off. That's it. And we'll have a look at that bolt in there, and really that is quite clean. I'll hold that right up to the camera. That's quite clean bolt. You can see shiny and clean. So it's not bad at all. And the grease and oil's worked on there. Let's take this one off. The problem with these, because there's no nut on the end, you're going into a drilled block. It's a machine block and it's threaded through. So the bolts don't always come to the very end of it and dirt gets in from the other end. Well, again, we've got a great one there. I'm happy with that. That's done well. We still change the hardware every time anyway, but just nice to know that it's been doing its job properly. Right, next we've got this little bit on there. That's just basically a cap to hold this rubber in place, and that rubber pinches the end of the roller and allows the roller to spin on the bearings without moving round in the case. So that's how that works. Now we've got this shoe on here, the height adjuster, sorry, it sits in this shoe. So now we have to start working this loose, and then I have had some success with these. Now the hardest thing of taking these apart was getting this off. Since we've started using this release spray, we can get in behind that rubber and it does make it a lot easier. I'm not saying it's foolproof, but it is a lot easier. You can see that's starting to move already, and it's moving around. We've got a bit of movement with it. Oh, and there we go. That's that off. So we have to put that to one side and we clean it. But just to show you, we'll undo this all the way through. There we go. You heard that nice little noise when it pulled apart. The vacuum there, caused by the grease sitting in there. That's caused a nice vacuum, stopped any water getting in, and that's great. So we can put that back in. I'll put a little bit more grease in that before we put it back together. But that can sit over on the side. Now, we've got to try and get this little rubber sleeve off. This might prove difficult. We've had trouble with these in the past. I think it's a little bit easier now with the spray, but in the past I had to cut these off, burn them off, anything you can do to get them off. But I'm hoping now we've got this spray, we can move the shoe. There you go. So easy these days, so easy. And you can see the rubber sits in there, and you pull that out and it actually sits in that little groove inside on that circle. That's where it sits. That's one end then. I'll turn it round and we'll do the other end. Right then, we've spun it round, we've got the other end here. There's no real need for you to watch me go through it all. I'll just do it in my own time. We might even speed it up, I don't know. And with a bit of luck, this end will come off just as easy as the other end. Well, there you go. It won't, will it? I'm going to have to get the big guns out. So give me a couple of minutes and I'll rifle through, get the bigger ratchet and have another go with that. Right, no go with that one. So we've got the bigger one now. So we'll put that over there. Hopefully it should go. Might lift this over. Give myself a bit more purchase on there, I think. I can. I think that one went then. Oh, goodness me. Never easy, is it, eh? You think, oh, spray it up, I'll do everything. We've done everything we can, and they're still a bit sticky. But they're all right in the end. Not too bad. Now, we've got another ratchet we can go up to. I think this is like the 3/8 of an inch. We've got the 1/2 inch one we can go up to. And if you really need to, you can go up and use a an impact wrench or impact driver. I tend not to use one much when I'm taking these apart, because if they have rusted up and you cause yourself some problems, or you probably use an impact driver that's not very powerful, and I just put it on there to rattle the nuts and bolts. You can see with that, we must have had a tight seal. See the bolts quite dirty. We had a tight seal on the top, so we couldn't get any penetrating oil down. If you were stuck like that, you'd have to turn it round and you put some in from the other side, and then it'd work backwards. Stand it up on its end, leave it for half an hour or so, and it'll work backwards and be done. But you start using the big impact wrenches and you just twist the ends off and you make it very difficult for yourself. Yeah. Again, quite dry on this side, so I don't know what's caused that, whether this one was on tighter or not, but that's done it. Yeah, everything seems solid. This seems solid as well. We might have to bit of persuasion to get this plate off, and then hopefully we'll get this one off. There you go, that's that one done. Then we can get the adjuster out. Just ease that one off, and there's me. I thought I won't show you doing this side. I've shown you once, but you never know, do you? You never know how things will pan out. So we do both sides, and we know it's done properly, and you know it's not a fix and they haven't been apart before, and we're just putting them back together. Again, that's solid in there. So the rubber goes a little bit sticky and bonds itself to the metal on the inside. I'll show you when we get this off. You'll be able to see where the grip is. Oh, I saw it slip then, so it's moved along a little bit. It's a tough one. It's like the olden days. We were here struggling with these for half an hour on each one. Then you end up cutting them off or burning them off or whatever you've got to do, depending on how particular you were about keeping the rollers. Right, I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a bit more spray in there, and I'm going to leave it for 10 minutes and grab myself a cup of tea. Right then, we just gave that a couple of minutes, and I gave it a wiggle just, and it's loose. Actually, when I thought it was loose before, I'm pulling that backwards and forwards, is because the bearings had gone in the roller, and the whole section's moving. So you should just give this a bit of a wiggle with your thumb. There you go, and it comes off. That's the great thing about the spray. Get it down in there and it works its magic. I don't know if you can see on the camera there on the inside, you can see it's wet. It's penetrated right the way down. Well, you can see on the spindle itself, it's wet on there, look. Now, there's little bits of rubber on there, and that's where it's been stuck to it. That's what happens all the time. Just put this here so you can see. That's our roller release then, it's out, and here it is. And the wobble on there, you can hear that, and you can hear it on this end. That's the bearings have gone in there. So that is actually scrap. So we can put that down and out the way. Now, we just have a little look at these bits and pieces. These are the shoes that everything fits in. They're left-handed and right-handed, so they're different on different cutting units. These are the actual height adjusters themselves. These fit in here, and then we've got the nuts and bolts and these little retaining brackets. Now, we're going to make a different video about putting it all back together. So before we do that, we have to take these away. We have to clean them all down, get all the grease off, get all the rust off, re-grease everything. We show you how to take these apart, grease them all up, and then we can put it all back together. So that'll be another one. And as I said, we've got loads of videos on these Ransomes machines, from engine services, cutting units, cylinder grinding. So have a look in the description below and find out what you want to look at. Thanks for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you've got anything nice to say, you can pop that in the comments section below. I'm Jimmy the Mower. I'll catch you on the next one.